Okay. Uh, Namaste, Rajeev ji, for joining us for this particular session. Welcome to all the participants who have joining us and will be seeing this particular session little later. Also, as you know that we are celebrating Reading Month. In this particular reading month, uh, we would like to kind of bring, as I said in my last episode, we would like to bring in more real-time incident practices when it comes to reading. But today we have a very special guest, uh, Captain Rajeev Nair, the grandson of late PN Panicker ji. Panicker ji's grandson is going to spend a lot of time on talking about uh, his own experiences, what he saw at the home front, what he experienced with all of us, his incidents and his real-time uh, stories per se as such. So it is very important for all of us also to get the first-hand experience of Panicker. It is very easy to say, it is very easy to say that you can create a movement, but movement requires people's persistence, perseverance, sustenance, vision, and like-minded people to come together. Panikarji did this right from his childhood. Yesterday, day for yesterday, when I had the chat time to basically speak to Captain Rajeev Nair, it was very interesting for me to understand some of these real-time incidents. But it is equally important, more than me trying to, only get some kind of stories or some kind of incident. I think it was very important to understand. Captain Rajeev comes from Naval. He is retired from Naval. He's also part of the Panicker Foundation. As a director, he plays that as a role. Today, he's joining us live from Kerala on my request for this particular program. So, Captain Rajeev Panicker, namaste, and a salute to armed forces respected Jawan. That's something which I would always like to say. I think it is very important that the kind of contribution you have done. And I will surely like to ask you this first question itself from that particular point that did Panikarji, wanted you to get into Navy or not? And what was your whole?
Namaste, Mr. Senthil, and all the people who are watching this. And a salute back from a naval veteran. I'm indeed very proud and honored to be here this evening to bring about a few aspects of my grandfather, which I have seen, I have had the privilege of seeing all through my life. To the specific question that you had asked me, Mr. Senthil, no, my grandfather was not very keen that I joined the armed forces. He was very keen that I took up the civil services because he thought that I would be able to do more for the society being in that. Having said that, going a little back about my grandfather on my joining the service, the story was like this. I was staying with my grandfather because we had the joint family system, and in the joint family system, we went about doing our roles of students. He used to, sort of view from afar about our studies. I later went from the Holy Angels Convent in Trivandrum, I went across to Model School and then to Sainik School. And when I went to Sainik School, and after the Sainik School, I had written the entrance examination for the National Defense Academy. And I had written it and forgotten about it. When my grandfather asked me specifically, are you really going into the services? So I said, no, Mutacha, I don't think I have done that well. I've just done about in an average manner. But ultimately, after my written exam, followed by the SSB interview, the results had come into the press information bureau in Trivandrum. And one evening I saw my Muttachan return quite sad. He was, when I say sad, he was a little worried. He looked worried. So he asked me, he said, today, he told me that today I had got a call from the PIB to say that they were congratulating me because you stood 13th in the overall merit.
Okay.
And I was myself shocked about my performance. But he thought that I was, sort of probably joking with him about my performance. So that was the thing that he had his, reply to my specific achievement in this particular sport. But subsequently, he was very fond of seeing me in my uniform, and he was very proud of it.
Right.
So coming back,
yeah. So I think what you said is very, very interesting, that he wanted you to go for civil services. Do you think that there was some specific reason that he wanted you to go to civil services? Did you think that, did he tell you any time at the later part of the life that, okay, this was the reason that I wanted you to kind of get?
He didn't specifically tell me that, but over a period of time, it is my impression that he had come across a lot of young and dynamic personalities in the civil services, in the form of collectors and directors, what have you. And in the process, thought that his grandson was equally good enough to sit there so that he could transform society in the manner that he wanted.
So that, I think, something transformation through the civil services is something very, very important thought, probably what he had. And that's something which I wanted to understand, because this is something which very few people think at that kind of a larger level and think a whole kind of story. Now let's get into the early life of Panicker. It has been always said that at a young age of 14, he kind of started not a library, but at least a reading community. And he used to do the reading. So we would like to know, what was the place where he used to sit down, how he started, a little background.
P.N. Panicker, Peduvayil Narayana Panicker, was born on the 1st of March 1909 at Neelam Peru. It is a place, it's a hamlet close to Changanasheri, short of Kotte. He was born to a very set of proud parents, and his parents, especially his mother, used to teach him, read out all stories from mythology, interesting books, and he was born and brought up with a good amount of information like that. And I am fairly under the impression that he picked up his reading habits from his mother, especially, who told him stories from the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and many other books. This he continued, and when he was in his teens, he used to regularly, read out excerpts from books and papers, newspapers, at the beneath the people tree in front of the Neelam Perur Bhagavati temple.
Okay.
That
was his basic thought which he started with.
That is correct. And
that's
ultimately, yeah, that is so. At the age of 14, when he was doing this, he suddenly realized that he had to have a paper in the name of some library, and he started the Sanatana Dharma library, a small outfit there in a room, and he walked through those 14 kilometers to Kottayam those days, and went and met the proprietor of the Malayalam Manorama paper, the late Maman Mappille, and who was more than convinced that this boy's efforts had to be augmented. and he immediately passed an order saying that he should be given about 5 newspapers every day. And that is how we have a sort of a very a relationship. Our relationship with the Malayalam Manorama had begun from that point.
What was that probably age when he kind of first time met the Malayalam Manorama?
He was Senthil, he was 14. He was just 14.
Or
And
just
he was in
14
this
years and
particular
okay.
process. Yes, and that showed the way he could, sort of influence people and put across an idea of his rather easily. That was the thing that I would like to tell about him from that incident. And he used to speak to people. He used to read out to people because in his mind there was nothing like a person who got knowledge, acquired knowledge from reading, and from there, it went on to bigger things because the man, sort of grew in a big way. In fact, I must tell you a particular incident in my childhood. I was at home one day. I think the schools are closed or something, and I was reading a film-oriented book known as the Cinema Masika.
Okay.
During our times, it was very popular. And I was
Okay.
reading that when Muthachan came in for lunch. When he had come in for lunch, and I suddenly hid the book because I didn't want Muthachan to know as to why I was reading a frivolous book like Cinema Masika.
Okay.
So he asked me, he said, what are you hiding away from me? So after much hesitation, I told him that it was a Cinema Masika and showed him the book.
Okay.
So he said, why are you feeling bad about me knowing that you have read that book?
Mhm.
Because you must understand that every book, every thing gives you knowledge.
Correct.
And so no book is bad. Only thing is that as you go in life, forward in life, you will know which books are good for you, which books are not good for you, and you would select and choose the books of your choice, which will take you forward. That was a valid lesson that he taught me because I knew from then on that there was nothing taboo about reading anything, but
Okay.
it was the essence that you had to get.
So when he was at home with all of you, did he ever, tell you people that you really need to kind of read this particular book or read this particular, a paper, or did he compel anything? Because what I hear from many people, of similar kind of a thought that the whole movement started from home, So what was your experience? How he used to kind of, maybe I should not use the word push to read, but how he kind of inculcated that in you.
He at home, he was one person who used to make us read in I wouldn't call it a pushy manner. It was one of those things that we had to do. I remember he used to make me read the day's newspaper, especially the important news columns and the masthead, especially. And if the pronunciations were, not very okay, he used to correct me. And there were lots of things that I learned. And I realized by reading the newspapers, I was also aware of the day's happenings along with him. So that was an advantage that I gathered quite early in my life. So that was the one way I look at the way he propagated reading within us. And again, one more thing was that during my birthdays, etc., he always used to present us with books.
Okay.
I remember one of the first books, the presentation that I received from him was a book on Swami Vivekam.
Very good.
So that was another way of his encouraging reading within the house. And this was not just for me, but for everyone.
Now, Captain, you shared a very beautiful incident that he walked up to those days Malayalam Manorama owners to basically say that I need 4 newspapers, and he talked about his idea. But how did he generate? Because as a young boy, you need to generate a lot of resources like books. You need place also to keep certain books like this, and then how did he start the first library, and what was that whole story behind?
Oh, that is it is a remarkable story. It was a remarkable story of a person who was much more remarkable and dynamic. I've heard of stories where he used to go by the transport, the normal bus, the KSRTC bus. Remember particularly this incident where people have told me that he reached godforsaken places like Wayanad those days. There used to be only a single bus that used to fetch up there. Used to get off at fairly late in the day. He used to have a banana and just tap water as his dinner, and he used to lie down and spend the night at the this thing, what's it called, the shop veranda, and go about his job the next day. Now the Kerala library movement got its people's movement tag because of the manner in which he set up this massive library network. He used to, his target used to be a village. He used to walk from one house to the other, talk to the people and ask them for books that they have finished reading with, and for books that they no more needed. And he used to collect them. He used to have a few people helping him with cycles on which these books used to be mounted. And during the course of the day, many such books would have been collected. And by the end of the day, he used to go to one of the affluent families of the village and request the people there to give him a room to place these books, so that could also act as a library. And his way of telling them was that the library would ultimately be an asset for the village. That was the way he used to motivate people. There were many people, incidentally, who ridiculed him during these times, these forays of his. One of the things that I have heard is, "Hey, Panicker, you think that you can wean away all these people from us with your, sort of making them, literate?" And second, this thing is, "Oh, Panicker, you do anything. I'm very sure that these people do not want to read or write. They just want money." Okay. But the best part of it was my grandfather insisted on taking only books as well as a room for the library, and nothing in cash was taken by him. And this was something that he was very particular about. And talking about that, I must tell you about another incident that he had done in such a foray. He and his assistant had fetched up at the Ernakulam Junction railway station, and it was time was around around 12, past 12 o'clock, past midnight. And he and his assistant spent the night sleeping on a sand dune which was outside the Ernakulam railway station. Some repair work was going on there, and he spent the night, and early in the morning went about in the public toilet there, and then went about his work. Now that was his way of doing things. And even now, when I go into Ernakulam, go in and out of Ernakulam Junction, I always look at that spot, which I thought was the place where that old sand mound was, and where my grandfather had spent the night. Okay. In towards setting up the library network.
Good. So this was about the basic idea about but we while we were talking there for yesterday, you talked about that collection of book was one kind of activity. How did he try to engage the community to collect the books and store the books, and that library actually started?
The what was something that he always insisted was the people in the normal days, in their normal days activities, would have their own work to do.
Correct.
He said, you don't worry about that. You do your work, earn your money for your livelihood. But at the end of the day, give me an hour where you can come to my library and read something for your mental growth. And this was something that fired the imagination of many people, youngsters especially, during that time.
So can you say that particular word? Because if I say it in Malayalam, it may not look nice. So I want you to say that particular word. Read and grow, think, and
that was something which came about in the 1970s, which I'll come by.
Yeah.
When he fired the Malayalis' imagination by this fantastic what's it called, slogan called Vaayichu valaruka, Chinthichu vivekam neduka.
Okay.
Which means read and grow and think and be enlightened. This was something that had come about in 1970 during a yatra that he had done from the northernmost part of Kerala to the southernmost part of Kerala.
Okay. So you were talking about the resources and library. When was the first library and how did he collect the resources? You said that he used to collect the books part of it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that was he set up libraries like that at various places. Then in around 1931, he got married and he shifted his base of operations from Neelamperur to Ambalapur. He was a primary school teacher and he was working in the government primary school there. This is just opposite, just close by to the western entrance of the Ambalapura Sri Krishna Kshetra.
Okay.
That is a place that he and there he had started the PK Memorial Grandashala, it was after the name of the late T.N. Govinathan Nair's father, PK Memorial Grandashala. And that is the one which has the serial number of 1 in the Kerala Library Council.
Oh, so that gets the prominence of number 1. Okay.
Number 1, yes.
Okay.
And
Memorial Library. Okay.
And this library, incidentally, Senthil, is just on the western wall of the temple. So as you go towards the temple of the Ambalapura Sri Krishna Kshetra, you would immediately on the right have this entrance to the library, and this library is now thriving in a new building, but that was the start. And from there, in 1914, by the time he had started, sending all these, this thing around 1944, etc. At that point of time, as he went about setting up libraries at various places, he had written letters to about 247, if my memory is right, rural libraries that was existent in the then Travancore kingdom.
Okay.
And in the Travancore kingdom, out of the 247 libraries, 47 of them, sent replies to my grandfather, and they were invited for a gathering and the inauguration of the Travancore Grandashala Sangham, which happened on the 14th of September, 1945.
Okay, so you are saying that the first meeting of out of 247 people, only 47 people came together, and they came together as one association.
That's actually what I would say is that the representatives of these 247 libraries had come in response to my grandfather's clarion call.
Okay.
And they happened to be there. The meeting was chaired by none other than the Diwan of Travancore, Sir C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer,
okay,
who was quite impressed by the dynamism of P.N. Panicker. And he inaugurated and put in a firm footstep the Travancore Library Association on the 14th of September, 1945.
Okay.
And that
is pre-independence we are trying to talk about. This whole movement was actually been trying to, was actually kind of started. Okay, very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then 1949, uh, Travancore and Kochi had amalgamated and it became the Tirukochi state. So it became the Tirukochi Grandashala Sangham. And in 1956, when states were formed on linguistic basis, the Kerala Grandashala Sangham was born. Meanwhile, P.N. Panicker had continued his journey to various nook and corners of Kerala. And he did not leave any place, out. So much so that there was a saying those days that there is no piece of land in Kerala which had not felt the footsteps of P.N. Panicker. That was the this thing. So that is how he had set up. He had gone about setting up the libraries. And in 1970, when the Kerala Grandashala Sangham or the Kerala Library movement, it had become a people's movement because then people had become quite enthusiastic by the sincerity of purpose and the dynamism of Mr. P.N. Panicker, that they joined this for a pittance, because my grandfather didn't have much to offer them in terms of pay and allowances, etc. But they joined it for the sheer enthusiasm of an idea, which is Vaayichu, valaruka, Chinthichu, vivekam, neduka. And in 1970, when this organization was celebrating its silver jubilee, the UNESCO of the United Nations had awarded the organization with the Nadezhda Krupskaya Award. Now, this award, named after the wife of Lenin, was awarded to an individual or an organization that had contributed spectacularly towards the improvement of society. And it was at that time Muthachan was suddenly thinking, was brought to a thought that, my God, I have set up so many libraries, but there are so many people who do not know how to read or write. Aren't these libraries a little out of focus for them? And then he began his thrust for literacy, for the literacy movement. But as I said, by 1970, he had set up a network of 5,280 libraries all over the state. And as I had said, he had started that yatra in a jeep, and they used to, at various important places and populated places, they used to carry out the Padayatra, sort of popularizing this slogan that had come out of his mind, his soul and heart, I would say, Vaayichu, valaruka, Chinthichu, vivekam, neduka. There were many people who had at that point of time said that in Kerala we have seen so many processions, so many jathas, but this is the first time when this small little person is trying to tell us what to do, and he is not asking anything from the government. Now that was a massive transformation of thoughts and ideas which P.N. Panicker sir was able to bring about in people.
I want to ask one very specific question to the audience also. If you think that you have any specific questions, you can post it on the Facebook chat comments itself. We are seeing the comments and we will request Captain Rajeev Nair to answer them. Okay, one particular question which came in was about literacy movement and Canfield. One question has come to us on literacy movement and Canfield, and what was Panicker sir's, how did he start and what was the need for starting this? You just made a little mention about it now by saying that the libraries, the purpose of library was to improve literacy. And then he had this slogan very, very clearly saying that how can we, kind of take it across and go to that. So Canford's, why Canford? What was the whole thought behind it?
Well, by the this thing in the Kerala Grandashala Sangham, there was one thing that Muthachan was very keen, was that for selection of people into various posts within the movement, within the organization, had to be done in a democratic manner. There were many people who dissuaded him from doing that. They said that you will find that things can get out of hand, and the organization may lose its sense of purpose. But he was very clear. He was very clear that the organization would have people who are dynamic and who have a sincerity of purpose by being democratically elected from among the masses, so that they could do their roles very convincingly and without any thought about remuneration. This was his
Okay.
thought. And he, in the process of, as I said, in 1970, with the Silver Jubilee celebrations of the Kerala Gandashala Sangham, he was convinced that the library movement had reached a sort of a plateau, and it had to be handed over to the government, so that the government could run it as a well-oiled system, so that the library thing could continue, while he focused on the literacy movement. Now, while saying that, I must also not shun away from this thing, what's it called, some not so very interesting happenings in the within the Grandashala Sangham towards the end. And he had to come out of it because he found that there were forces in play which did not look at the way he thought doing a library movement is all about. And in fact, what he did was, after telling the government, because I remember it was Chief Minister Achyutam Menon who was in power at that time in the 70s, and Mr. Mohammed Koya was the education minister, and he had told them that this should be taken over by the government. But as I said, unpleasant things do happen, but nothing could fetter a person like P.N. Panicker, because he had the power, the conviction, and the dynamism to break all these things and go about his sort of priorities. That was the greatest quality in that man, and that is what people saw in him also.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that when somebody has created a movement with such a passion, and people would like to always take, when something grows, people would like to take advantage of such situation. Like in Hindi, we say, no, Behti Ganga mein everybody wants to wash their hands. So I think a movement which started, then everybody, as you rightly said, there will be a lot of private people who also wanted them to take advantage of it. This brings me to the next question.
I would like to add one. I would like to add one more point.
Sure.
P.N. Panicker's insistence that, in fact, he had a thing that he had told the people, that he would only be. He was a general secretary of the Kerala Gandashala Sangham for 32 years from 1945.
Okay, 32 years.
That's correct. And he said that I shall only remain the general secretary of this movement so long as there is no hue and cry fight over the post.
Okay.
And the best part about it was, for 32 years, there were no one in the organization who thought fit enough to be sitting on that chair, because he had made that chair so grand, so spectacular.
People were hesitant to even go and sit near the chair, maybe.
Absolutely. That was the point.
Correct. And then I also wanted to know, because you just started talking about the government, there is a very interesting incident about he not accepting government car or government vehicle. So can you just give a little input about this car story and Panicker, sir? What is that particular part of it?
Oh, that's a very good thing that you asked me, Senthil. And especially that incident also brings me to a point where I got my first nickname in my school.
Okay.
You know, in 70s when P.N. Panicker was traveling extensively all over Kerala, the then education minister called him and he said that Panikarji, you are not supposed to travel in this public transport anymore. So I'm giving you a state car with the consensus of the cabinet. And Mr. P.N. Panicker was given a state car, red, sort of backgrounded, number plated car. But P.N. Panicker, he tried his best to stay away from the use of the state car, but ultimately he realized that he had to. Then he insisted that the driver for him shall not wear the paraphernalia of the government of Kerala's drivership, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And in one of his tours, he was going to Kannur, that is what I say. He decided to drop in at my place and at my schools. I was in Sainik School, Karakutam those days. And when he came all that this thing, he reached my school and he was in front of one of the houses, and one of the masters at.
So this is about the Sainik school. This is, you are talking about the Sainik school where you were studying.
I was studying in Sainik School, Karakutam. There's about 17 kilometers north of the city, and it was very prominent. So he had come there, and the master asked him as to whom he wanted to meet, and he said, "My grandson is here." And then, to his utter horror, he realized that he didn't know my professional name.
Okay. Because he never knew what was the school name as of yours.
That's correct. He used to always, I should say school name. He always called me Moni, and there was nothing else that he used to call me by.
And you also had the advantage, I think you told me, that you were the eldest grandson in the family. So that correct. Credit also is something which you owe.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
That is right. The Panickers, Mr. P.N. Panicker and Mrs. P.N. Panicker, they have 8 children.
Okay.
My mother was the eldest.
Okay.
And therefore, my position as the eldest grandson was something that was accepted. And I think I got a lot more of the share of love from all of them because of that. Okay. But the fact is, none of my cousins, my sisters, or brothers are complaining about that. I'm sure.
So that way it's good. So the story of Monet, we would like to know from the Monet story and Sainik school. Yeah, you're saying.
So at the Sainik school, the master was flabbergasted because here was this gentleman. He obviously was P.N. Panicker and he had come here, but who was his grandson? He was also a little, sort of worried. And so he came, and I was at the meantime playing. We were playing a house game, a football game, and we had lost that thing, and we were all sitting and talking as to why we had lost and what was the strategy, etc. So the master came there and he said, "Here's a state car that is waiting for. It has been here for quite some time. Is there anybody whose relation is Mr. P.N. Panicker?" And suddenly it gave me a shock. I never expected my grandfather in his busy schedule to drop in here at the school, because my school is a little out of the highway. And I rushed to him, and there I found him, the familiar figure of the spotless, starched white full sleeve shirt and dhoti with that male munda on top. And he was fuming that that I wasn't there to receive him. But that was a great thing. And people realized, in fact, my school, my friends, etc., came to know that I was called Monet, and people used to call me Monet from then on for some time. Okay. And I used to tell my grandfather, I said, "It's because of you that I've got this nickname," that sort of thing.
So Rajeev Nair Monet became your new name in the school.
so that was the thing. But he subsequently, whenever he used to visit any place, like when I was in the Cochin Naval Base, he used to carry a slip of paper with my name and designation, so that there was no a similar incident. That was this thing. But,
So these are very small incidents, but very interesting incidents that he used to carry a small slip with him to just remember his grandson's name. Fantastic stuff. But I think you also shared about a very interesting incident that, till when somebody went to give a wedding card, about that incident. Would you like to share
yes,
with us?
there was another this thing, that this was very sort of surprising that it happened. One of my classmates, in fact, he is a group captain, retired, Anil Kumar, also from Trivandrum. It was his sister's wedding. So he walked up to my grandfather, who was one of the guests, and he said, "Sir, I am your grandson's Rajiv's classmate." And my grandfather just looked at him and didn't register it at all, because again, it was a name factor.
Okay.
So Anil had come back and asked me, "Hey Rajiv, I hope you're not pilling or something, because is P.N. Panicker really your grandfather?" And I had to tell him as to what was the reason for his looking at Askins at that point of time.
Okay. So I think it was very interesting to say he never used to recognize it. He never used to remember his own grandson's name. That is something which is very interesting. So when you talked about such incidents at home, when he used to sit down and have lunch with all of you, what kind of discipline? Because one of the things which we have always seen is to bring such transformation in the society and community, there'll be always some impact at the home front also in terms of discipline. So something which you would like to kind of, share with us.
I must tell you that that's a very good, interesting question, Mr. Senthil. Basically, at home, when he used to be there, people used to be on the guard, there was no doubt. But he was very approachable and very friendly. There were two things that he used to insist on, and that was, you never while away time when you are at home, and you don't sleep, too much. There were sleeping hours that were meant for you, and you're supposed to stick to that schedule. Early morning, you had a family prayer when everyone was supposed to have. That would be around 7 to 7:30 in the morning. Everyone used to be at the puja room with after a bath, and he used to be the pujari, like sort of offering the flowers and doing the arti, etc. That was something which I can never forget, because that was something which he religiously did. And in the evening, of course, he came a little later, but the family continued to do that family prayer, the collective prayer, even in the evening around 6 to 7, that sort of thing. And there were times when he used to be teary-eyed. He used to be in front of his God. He used to tell them as to what difficulties that he was going through. And now I can understand as to what the massive difficulties that he was going through. But he was, as I told you once before, he was one person who could never accept a no for an answer. And he had the same person finally coming down to his way of thinking. That was the person P.N. Panicker was. So at home, he was fairly, I would say he wanted us to behave properly, wanted us to do things that were right. And in fact, there is a prayer that I say every morning, which he had told me. He says, you should have Ishvara Bhakti, you should have,
you can say in Malayalam and then we can kind of translate that, because there are few things which should go only in that language, then the impact is a little higher for the people.
Yeah. എനിക്ക് സത്യം മറ്റുള്ളവരോട് സത്യം തുറന്നു പറയുക, വിനയം എല്ലാവരോടും വിനയത്തോട് പ്രവർത്തിക്കുക, കരുണ എല്ലാവരോടും ദയയോട് പ്രവർത്തിക്കുക, ധർമ്മം ഈശ്വര ഭക്തി എന്നീ ഗുണങ്ങൾ വരുത്തേണമെന്ന്. This is the prayer that I say even now, because this is something that he had passed on to me. He said, you must pray for these attributes which will take you forward in life. And that was something, and I feel that has taken me this far without any problem.
Good. So I think now you've shared something about some of the very interesting things. Suppose if somebody would love to walk up to you and say, as a grandson of Panicker, uh, what kind of challenges did you face when you were in naval or when you were in, in public life? Many people might have come and said, no, Panicker's grandson. Because many people say when you're celebrities, grandson, son and grandson, the life is not very easy. Did you ever face something like that sometime in your life?
Senthil, on the contrary, I was always looked at by a person looked at as a person who had the privilege of being such a personality, such a great personality's grandson. And they always, I had picked up friends, I had picked up many people, and there was never any doubt in people's minds as to the inheritance of the qualities that I had from my grandfather, because of my grandfather. And I would say in this particular point of time, my grandmother, Mrs. P.N. Panicker, or G. Chemba Kutti Amma, they were, she was also another pillar of strength. I had seen, many people had asked me, how did P.N. Panicker go about doing so much of work when he had a family to look after? And I said, he was as much bothered about each and every member of the family. And the only thing was that the small nitty-gritties and problems were never projected by Mrs. P.N. Panicker. She used to sort it out at her level. And so that Mr. P.N. Panicker had the advantage of having a troubleless family. That was the most important thing. And mind you, Senthil, at that point of time when we were staying in the joint family system, we had about, at any given point of time, we used to have about 24 to, around 30, under 30, a lot of people staying at our house. Either it is my grandfather's friends or from places from various libraries, etc., who were allowed to spend an evening or a few evenings at home with us. And we all shared our whatever was available with us. And I think it was Mrs. P.N. Panicker, or that great lady's tenacity and the dynamism and the way she could handle situations which carried all of us through. And that was a great advantage for Mutachan.
I think it was great to, basically listen that people normally, there's a quote saying, behind every successful man, there is a woman. And I think you gave us the real picture that I think Mrs. Panicker PNP was somebody who actually stood by him at that particular time, which is very, very important. This also, kind of brings me to one more question, which has come up already in the chat, is how to tackle, because you're also part of the Panicker Foundation, there's one question which has come up from Mr. Rajeev Nair. How to tackle reading habits in the digital world, sir? So,
it's a very good question, Senthil. Reading, they say that the reading habits have been on the wane these days. I would like to, though we have also done some internal surveys, etc. Reading as a habit never goes, because so long as human beings are there, he is in the quest for knowledge, and he would like to acquire knowledge from the medium that is available in front of him. And books are the best. In fact, I would ask of you one thing. Won't you, like me, like to settle down in your favorite sofa with a book in the evening, so that you could get some good ideas after having spent a very tough schedule for the day. People say, I think people's talk about that is that, or at least people's impression about reading becoming less is because there are more and more people who are taking to e-reading. Nothing wrong with it. If you are doing e-reading, nothing wrong with it. And we must encourage that, and that is what we are trying to encourage in people. But the final essence of reading is, as an old-fashioned guy like me would say, is that you read a book and you'll enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, at this particular time, Captain Rajeev Nair, I would also like to tell you that, I kind of support or work with a small community of people who have also taken this agenda of making Club 1 billion reader. Club 1 billion reader,
Wow,
where we
that
are
is
trying to
fantastic.
encourage students to read through an
That's
app,
fantastic.
through an app. And next week, I'm going to get the founder of Club 1 billion reader in the same show. As I promised to the people, saying that every next 5 Sundays, I'm going to get one very innovative stuff in the reading space. And I think you kind of hit on the thing. It is not necessary that we always need to look at the hard copy of the book, but through app and through technology or through tab, people can still read. It reading, according to you, suppose if you are given the charge and said that, okay, 2 days, if you have to work with schools, what is your feedback to the schools? What schools must do and how they can come reach out to Captain Rajeev Nair to say that to motivate young people across the country, saying that this is something which is supposed to be done when it comes to it. What is your message to all the schools in the country?
I would, in fact, Senthil, that's a very tall order, but I would request all the children to, sort of cultivate this habit of reading. And that reading, it can be through any methods, especially as you rightly pointed out, in recent times, we have the advantage of gathering so much of information from the net and the electronic medium. So we must use that and, sort of keep that flair for reading on so that you don't miss out on even the latest, even on any of the minutest information. This is something which I would like to tell the students. And once in a way, as you browse through things, etc., on the electronic media, you would also be tempted to look into a book. And that is my, sort of encouragement for the students of to
So now I got the answer for the student, Captain, but I would like to know what is your recommendation to the school, because I know that your foundation is doing some great work in this particular.
Yes.
In the digital space, what kind of initiatives have
Oh, that's a very interesting question. In fact, I have my mom, my uncle, my mother's younger brother, N. Balagopal. He is another chip of the old block in the sense that he has tireless energy and he has been doing a lot of things. And that is how the foundation has come up to this level of its activity. In fact, with this activity, he is on very close terms with the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister has given the foundation a task to have 300 million people illiterate within 2022. It was a task that he had given us in 2017 when he had said at a public meeting in St. Teresa's College in Retd. Okay. They said, listen, P.N. Panicker is not supposed to be within the state of Kerala. This gentleman has done so many things that he needs to be available to all of us across India. Yeah. And that is how we began the P.N. Panicker Vayana Dinam Vayana Mass. And that celebration started from the 19th of June, and starts from the 19th of June till the 18th of July. Right. And it began in 2017. Now, P.N. Panicker had set up libraries. He is the founder of the Kerala Library Movement. And he also is the author of Kerala's attaining 100% literacy. But Mr. Balagopal and his team has said that we would like to get people illiterate as quickly as possible. In fact, in Kerala, our thrust has been on attaining 100% illiteracy within a short period of time. And it is with this particular thing, the Prime Minister has asked the P.N. Panicker Foundation to head the National Reading Mission and work towards a total literacy program. Why he has said this, why he was impressed with P.N. Panicker was, he told us during that public meeting. He said when he became the chief minister in Gujarat, he had started a program called Vaayichu Gujarat. That means Gujarat reads. And he had spent money, but he says he couldn't get people to read. And he says, P.N. Panicker has, now I hear P.N. Panicker and I find that this gentleman has made people read, and that too the people of Kerala, who initially are a little hesitant to take on new ideas. I mean, some people have these this thing. But the fact is that the Keralites took on to Vaayichu, valaruka, Chinthichu, vivekam, neduka, P.N. Panicker without batting an eyelid. And so we are, this thing is, the foundation's idea is, in sort of a nutshell, I would say, there are 207,000 panchayats. And in each of the panchayat, we propose to set up this thing, e-libraries, 3 e-libraries each. And these e-libraries will form the cornerstone of the e-literacy of the entire country. And this I would like to say one thing. This e-libraries, which would be there, 3 each in each village, will not require government money, as Balagopalji puts it, my uncle. He says it is the MP led funds and the MLA led funds with CSR responsibilities of big corporate houses, which will fund this particular movement, and it will be definitely a movement that will thrive, I'm sure. And we will have a state-of-the-art technology insofar as literacy campaigns are concerned within our country, and we will become a great nation. There's no doubt about it.
The same, based on whatever you have said, I think Dr. Maithili Rao, she is the dean from Jain University. She has asked a very interesting question. I'm not sure if it has been addressed, but how do we address the matter of making books reachable to the lowest rings of the society, make it more inclusive? Do you have mobile library? So Maithili, I think Captain has already answered this particular question. To e-libraries, they will reach out, and they have said very, very clearly, the MP LAD and the MLA LAD fund, which is Local Development Authority fund. And then he also talked about CSR. So my request to all the CSR, heads and the corporate houses which are going to see this, I think there is a good avenue, there is a good reason that why you should join hands with P.N. Panicker Foundation to reach those numbers which you yourself may not be able to reach. I think that's a very, very interesting movement I think I should appreciate your uncle, who is right now driving, who is sitting at the driving seat and driving this particular movement. I think please convey, our vision. And there is a gentleman called as Rajesh Sharma. He says, I took part in Vaayichu Gujarat. So there are people who have also able to connect very, very interestingly. And I think, Lakshmi Sharat is saying, Government of India has created National Digital Library
Exactly.
for students of, yes.
Exactly. In fact, Senthil, can I just say a word? Sure. We are working in tandem with the National Digital Library of India, or NDLI, okay. And they have already put 6.5 crores of books into their database, okay. And these would be available for anyone to get into their database and acquire books of their requirement. It is being built on. And NDLI is working in tandem with the P.N. Panicker Foundation.
Very good.
We have a time.
I think Radhika Chari is also appreciating wonderful conversation. Got to know so many details about the legend P.N. Panicker ji. Thank you. Anything that you would like to tell all the education institutions? You talked about the children, what exactly needs to do. Suppose if there are schools, because I also work quite a lot with schools across the country and outside the country. What is your advice to me that I should become ambassador of Panicker ji's vision to take it to school? So what is that mantra you would like to give it to me and to the schools out there which are part of this particular conversation?
Well, the thing, Senthil, is very clear. The teachers, the people who sort of handle students and others. They have to be just on their toes to acquire the latest information and pass it on to the children, because, and as I said, finally it is the state of the art technology that needs to be used, which will cover more and more people into our way of thinking. And that should be the approach which should be able to get them dividends in the form of good citizens of the country for the future. Because they are, I always feel that the teachers, I have had the privilege of wonderful teachers all through my life. Whatever I am today is because of the teachers. The teachers are not within our country. They are not paid handsomely or something. It is their dedication. It is their sincerity of purpose which gets them to do things which go beyond the four walls of the classroom. My teacher used to be on the games fields to help us play games. They used to be with us in the night reading hours to clear our doubts. So a teacher is much more than a teacher should not be restricted within the four walls of the classroom. The education is an all-round development of the of a child, and that is what a person should aim for, which can be done. It is innovative things that comes to a teacher, which propels him or her to greater heights.
Yes, Captain, I would like to also say that being a teacher for almost 15 years, myself, traveled as a teacher, school teacher, to becoming a college teacher at Christ Bangalore, and then now working with teachers across the country. One thing which, as you rightly said, I think people are not getting paid properly, people are not being recognized. I think that's one part of it, but I think teachers have been very passionately working. I can only assure you from the community teachers community which is watching, which is working very tirelessly in this whole part of it. And I would also like to tell all the participants who have kind of joined for this particular session that there are schools. I can tell you there are schools who don't have Facebook account. So these people also have requested that can we have all these things also telecasted live on YouTube? So that's the advantage of technology which we should be able to leverage. And this is my request to all the teachers that any kind of resource, if it could be created. And don't worry, next week we will have a Teen Sawal Teen question on Ask TLC is going to be the new YouTube page where you will find including this particular episode in that particular place. So that my request to all of you is that many people called me, sir, what I would like to share when you have said about the teachers, that many teachers and many school principals from smaller towns, they don't have technology access like this. Their teachers, they are not able to do the investment. And people like us, we don't get an opportunity to go to such villages and such remote places. So many school principals requested us, can we download these, like your talk today. My request to all the people who are there is no copyright as such, please. This is a conversation which is coming from heart, from Captain and with me, and it's a pure conversation. If it is going to motivate your students, your teachers, your community, wherever you are, I think the vision what PNPG had actually kept for all of us. Panicker, what he kept, that what he wanted all of us to do, I think all of us have to contribute a bit by spreading the right message to them, motivating people to read. And if we can do that, I think his dream of not only talking about Kerala being literate, but the country itself can become literate. I still remember in one of the notes by the clarion call given by the Honorable Prime Minister Pradhan Modi ji had actually said by 2022, can we make the country completely literate? And I think this is the kind of work what he has been able to do, the kind of things what he's been able to do. If we can all together put our thoughts together, it is all about thoughts. It's all about contributing. Can I motivate at least 3 people, 4 people? I think we have done something which is very, very important. Now I think there are a couple of comments which have still come. As a matter of fact, His Excellency Governor of Madhya Pradesh, Anandiben has started Vaayichu Bhopal, And then the next question which has come up is Abha Vishwakarma says, thank you for this beautiful session, very inspiring. Oda Kapoorji has, talked about, we cannot stop the gadget attraction, but we can distract them with reading movement. Okay, so Kapoorji says this, my son-in-law is buying Kindle book and physical book simultaneously. His statement is, in Kindle book, he's not finding any belongingness, but in Kindle book, it is instantly available. Thanks for another good session. So I think I should credit it to you for triggering this very, very important topic of reading. Captain Rajeev, I think everything came out from your heart. Everything came out from your heart. And that's something which many people say that why are you not making these conversations, what you do on Facebook Live, very formal. I don't believe in formality. And you came out, you gave us extra. You gave us extra, which we may not find it in the books, which people might have been able to capture. But today evening, we, at TLC, we assure you at any particular time, Panicker Foundation requires, I will at least make it a point that whichever school I go, I will talk about at least the initiatives taken by this particular foundation. That is my contribution to the foundation. And at any particular time, if Panicker Foundation needs any kind of campaigns to be done at schools, Senthil is available for that kind of. So this is my personal assurance on behalf of my team that we will kind of work. And it is only small, like-minded people. I think there's a lot of inspiration at the age of 14 to sit down at a temple and then read about people. Amazing. So thank you very much for joining us for this particular conversation. I think many people are thanked, for the conversations which is coming up on the Facebook. But your time, your last words for all of us across the country or outside the country who are watching,
sir. Thank you, Senthil, firstly, for calling me for this conversation. It was my privilege and honor to be with you. I too, in the process of this 1 hour plus conversation, have learned more about myself. And I always say, yes, sometimes I look back and say, aren't you a little too proud of yourself because of being your grandfather's grandson? Yes, I am. This is a chance that this is a privilege that I've got for from God, I would say. And I proudly like to sort of show it to people. But more than that, during this, at any point of time when there are opportunities to discuss about my grandfather, I always, because there are so many things that have been talked about in the official realm, but in the personal landscape, we have so many incidents of that great man, which takes us back. And I sometimes wonder, shouldn't I have spent more time with him? Like your own parents, when they have gone, you suddenly realize, shouldn't I have given more time to them during when they were with me? Is a question that always bugs you deep within. But having talked about it, I'm sure he would have had much larger things to do, and therefore he had to be left alone. We couldn't take all of his space. But I must, leave with this thing is that you people, Senthil, and the people around you are doing a wonderful job. This is something that cannot be done by everyone. You got to have the flair and the interest and the genuine feel for improving another person through a thing like reading. And when you say, tell another person to read, it is not an easy task like giving a sum of money or something, because this is something which that person has to accept and do involuntarily, because he will realize it subsequently that it is for his own good. And this is a tremendous impetus that you are giving. In fact, when you had talked to me that for the first time, I was taken completely, I would say, I was swept off my feet by your genuineness. And that is why, Senthil, I am glad to have you as a good friend from now on. And you and your friends, anyone of you would like to be in touch and be with the foundation, we would always look forward to your activities with us. It will only help us, sort of amalgamating our thoughts and make it reach a wider population. That is what our endeavor should be and will be.
So on behalf of myself and all the participants who have joined, who will be joining and seeing these videos, this whole live session later, I can only wish the best of health to everybody out there at the family, and let the fire, let the fire continue. And these are all, I think, moments of truth, which I have experienced sitting across to you. And I think those kind words motivate people like us, motivate teachers like us to go and do much. Keep us in your prayers and keep us, give us your blessings to do much more. With that particular note, we would like, it's already late, we have exceeded 1 hour. I had requested him only for 1 hour. We exceeded 1 hour. Rajeev ji, I think how the 1 hour went, I'm not even sure about it. But I think we kind of, it was like a very generic conversation as such. So thank you very much. Stay safe. I convey my wishes to everybody at home and to all the participants. I think this is a good way to basically reach out to Captain Rajeev and the foundation, the kind of good work which is being done. If you require anything, I'm going to put in the chat box the foundation address and email and contact details so that you can reach out to them and then take this initiative. You don't require us to be part of it. What is the whole intention is, can we have more number of people going for such initiatives directly with them? Because Senthil will have its own limitations, others will have its own limitation, but independent people who have some interest to make a change, I think this is the right moment for all of us to do it. So Rajeev ji, thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon at your place.
Absolutely.
Thank
Me
you,
too. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.